Alrighty, shalom and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a lot of discussion about the dueling halftime shows, one from the NFL themselves and the other from TPUSA. It's very interesting to me that I've been noticing that there is a lot of dishonest commentary in terms of the numbers of what it is that these things ended up pulling in. One of the things that I've been seeing going around social media like crazy are the memes saying that were 176 million. I've seen some figures saying 511 million people watched Bad Bunny live through their televisions, through their devices, all that stuff for his halftime show. And that only 5 million people ended up seeing the TPUSA All American halftime show. Huh. It's very interesting to me because of the fact that when we go and we look up, for instance, these figures, the things that it is that are being claimed in terms of this, when we go and look up TPUSA, for instance, here, the thing that we end up seeing is, well, wait a minute here, 20 million views. And there were other channels that ended up doing it as well. Not only was there the regular TPUSA one, it's interesting that when you go and you put a TPUSA halftime, that one at 20 million views is not the one that pops up first on YouTube. As a matter of fact, you got to scroll to find it. The Charlie Kirk one ended up getting 3.7 million. And it's like they have tried to go and bury it. Officer Tatum ended up going and streaming it as well. I'm pretty sure that he still has it up. Let's go and take a look here and find out. Yeah, here it is here. 1.3 million views from Officer Tatum going and doing it. But not only that, if we go to Rumble and we put in TPUSA halftime, here's what we end up getting here. 2.5 million from Turning Point USA, 1.5 million from Real America Voice, 189,000 from the Charlie Kirk Show, and there were several others that ended up going and rebroadcasting it as well, ranging from 11,000 all the way down to 8,000. Okay? Now, the thing is that these are not the only places where this was streamed to. It was also streamed to the TPUSA website via a native player that they had on there as well. I'm sure that quite a few people ended up going on over there. We don't have those statistics to go and that are available to us over here to go and analyze that. It also ended up getting streamed on OAN, as well as several other places on cable and all that stuff. How many, I have no clue. But the figures that we have been looking at objectively here actually say it's been somewhere between 50 to 60 million, as opposed to 5 million, what the American left is claiming, ended up watching the TPUSA halftime show. Okay? Now, this is something that I have not done, but I'm going to go over to YouTube right now. And we're going to see what the Bad Bunny halftime show ended up getting. Okay, now I got to say on YouTube, they did end up beating out TPUSA. They got 31 million right over there, as we see from this window over here. 31 million. Okay, so the thing is that, in no way did the TPUSA All American halftime show overtake that of the one that was done by the NFL. We got to be objective. We got to be honest. That's one of the things that you guys rely on us to do over here. But the thing is, I remember going and watching. I ended up watching the TPUSA, and then I went and I tuned back in to the game after that was over. And the thing that I ended up seeing was the head of the NFL. What is his name? Is it Roger Goodell? I should have gone and looked. Yeah, Roger Goodell. He was in his skybox, and this was right after the halftime show. And he was coming back from somewhere, walking right back into his skybox. And the look on his face looked like he was pretty upset about something. And my guess would be that the numbers that he was expecting for this halftime show is not ultimately what he ended up getting. Sorry for all the dings. I'm getting a lot of text messages right now. Whenever it is I go live or record a video, for some reason, everybody thinks that is the time to text me. Why that is, I have no clue. But anyway, the thing to realize with a lot of these statistics that you are seeing online is they're saying that 175 million to 511 million, depending upon which meme you get your facts from. I don't know. We kind of like to go and kind of validate, use primary and secondary citation. We kind of like to go that route personally. But, I mean, that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of an oddball. Who knows? But the fact is, those numbers are how many people tuned in to the Super Bowl. They're not factoring in the numbers that places like NBC, Peacock, and all the places that it was streaming to. I believe those were the two main ones. How many people tuned out during the halftime show? They're going and taking the collective of a 4-hour event that ended up happening and then saying, this is how many people tuned in for that 4-hour event. Not the half hour that Bad Bunny was there. They're not counting how many people ended up tuning out. And these are not going to be numbers that I think they are going to release. They see it as though if somebody watched the first quarter, that means they watched Bad Bunny. If they watched the second quarter, that means they watched Bad Bunny. Even if they didn't go and watch the halftime show, well, we're going to take those numbers from the first quarter, second quarter. Everybody that ended up going and logging into a device on their Roku, Apple TV, or what have you, or, are streaming it through their cable box. Those numbers are Bad Bunny numbers, is the way that they see it. Because, again, they're not looking into who tuned out and said, nope, this is not for me. There's been a lot of video that has come out of people, the crowd at the Super Bowl, people paying $6,000 for a ticket to go to the Super Bowl. And they're just kind of sitting there looking like, what the hell is going on here? What is this? You see like maybe two people going and dancing a little bit, one person filming a TikTok. Look around that. You got a lot of that going on. But however, the crowd is not into it. This is a lot different than, say, when Prince was at the Super Bowl, Michael Jackson. I mean, heck, I would say there were more people on their feet for Maroon 5 than were on their feet for Bad Bunny. And the thing that is also very interesting is after all of this, you want to know what ended up happening? Bad Bunny ended up going and scrubbing his entire Instagram account. Took his entire Instagram account down. And everything is pointing that this was a huge misstep for the NFL. Because let's look at this in terms of economics. Let's look at this in terms of culture. whenever it comes to the halftime show, there were a lot of people that in years past would just watch the halftime show. That's all that's all it is. Their favorite artist was there. Okay? Think on this. Bad Bunny has 50 million followers on Instagram. 31 million people who didn't see it live were the ones that said, I want to go and watch that on YouTube. Only 31. 31 million. That's not good. That is not good. And in fact, the TPUSA All-American Halftime Show is considered to be the third biggest live stream in history. Third biggest in history. The first was a NASA thing, and I forget what the second one is, but they are third. That is something that is so much of a success that they're already planning the one for 2027. Okay? Now let's get back to the economics and the cultural impact of this. This was the first time in history you had people tuning out of the halftime show. The first time they went into a negative of at least 50 million people tuned out. Now, let's say that those numbers of 170 million people who watched the Super Bowl is accurate. You got a dip of 50 million people in the middle of your broadcast, which usually sees a spike. That right there is something that is going to relate into revenue for the NFL. Because if they do something like this again, you're going to have people saying, do we get a discount rate for the halftime show, considering that you have a competing halftime show going on that last year ended up getting 50 million people watching it? That's going to be the question. And this right here is less advertising revenue for the NFL, for NBC. And I guarantee you that things will probably be handled differently. The NFL's not saying this. Roger Goodell is not saying this. But I guarantee you, behind the scenes, they're saying, we cannot make this same mistake again. So it'll be interesting to see if they do, for the reason of political clout, or if it is that they put their business hat on and say, you know what, that was a really boneheaded thing that we ended up doing in 2026. Let's not make that same mistake again. Let's really have a unifying halftime show, as opposed to what this was. And then, because let me tell you something, you go and you get 50 million on your first year's live stream, the second year is only going to be bigger. It's only going to be better production. There's a lot of things that we could end up saying about the TPUSA one. You could tell that it was a very small scale one. It was still very entertaining. It was still very much in the spirit of the NFL halftime show. It really was. I find it to be very interesting as well that, and people ended up saying, well, you know, there was some lip syncing going on when Kid Rock did Bawitdaba. But yeah. Your guy had auto-tune the whole time. Auto-tune from a pre-recorded track. That isn't, I'll tell you, whoever does his auto-tune, he's not even in key whenever he goes and does it. It's never in key, ever. It's like, how in the hell is this listenable? I have no clue. But, I mean, you can't tell me that there's not some Apple Music bots out there and some Spotify bots for this Bad Bunny guy. Because I'll tell you, it's not pleasurable to the ear in any way, shape, or form whenever it is that he's going and rapping in the key of C and the background music's in the key of D. It doesn't really work that way. But, I mean, I guess we just stopped having real artists go and do this thing. But the thing is that during Kid Rock's second song that he ended up closing out on, which is his new single, it's obvious that he was indeed singing. Bawadaba, it very much seems that was definitely pre-recorded. Absolutely. But then he goes and strips down. Goes and refers to himself as Robert Ritchie as opposed to Kid Rock, showing a bit of an evolution, going from where it is that he started in the pop culture zeitgeist with Bawadaba, and the guy that it is that he used to be. And then he ended up going and telling 50 million people to accept the Messiah of Israel. Just him and an acoustic guitar, not going under Kid Rock, but Robert Ritchie. I think in many ways that could very well have been an artistic choice. When was the last time that the NFL did not use tracks and pre-recorded vocals? It hasn't happened in many years. Many, many years. So when people go and throw that out there, it's like, well, not only were you guys using backing tracks, but also you're using auto-tune for your backing tracks and your vocal tracks. Don't even start that crap with me. What are you talking about? His voice naturally goes. Yeah, okay. If you say so. If you say so. But guys, that's all I got for you today. I want to wish all of you shalom bracha, peace and a blessing. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Make sure to go and subscribe.